Hi there, welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. Hello, leader. Welcome back to the Fierce Factor podcast. You're here for episode number 175. And today we're going to talk about leadership. I was inspired to have a quick chat with you today about this topic. I think in the midst of, to call it like back to school turmoil, I feel like there's like this wave of chaos happening, especially for us moms who are going through the transition of getting kids back to school after a somewhat slow summer, busy summer, but a business-wise, just summer where in general, people are checked out and vacationing, and there's a lot of this sort of delayed business impact that we're starting to feel, right? And what happens during the summer when we have a little bit of a slowdown on the business side is we, as we should, reinvest in infrastructure, double down on team training and development, take some time off for ourselves, reinvest in our mental health and our emotional well-being. And now it's sort of this turn of seasons again, where I feel like there's a lot of kind of questioning around, am I on the right track? Have I been doing things right this past season? And I just put out today, actually, a post about a growth plateau. And I know I've recorded about that in the past, but I wanted to talk about the idea of where do we belong in the whole infrastructure of how we lead through all of the times, right? And I think sometimes easy when things are going really well and we feel great about the space that we're in, the business is looking good, the numbers are looking good, team is happy, leadership feels very natural and organic, and it feels easy in a lot of ways. But when things are not as simple, it can feel like a chore. And I think even when we do a really great job of turning the corner in terms of finding great people and we start to gain momentum, it becomes another challenge for us, a call for us to rise up and become better leaders of the people that we're bringing in. So I wanted to kind of share some thoughts with you that I've been having over the course of the past week or so around the role that we play in leading our team. So I was thinking a lot about my experience as an athlete, just growing up playing soccer and playing at the collegiate level, obviously, and how much I learned about leadership through the dynamic of team in general, and having to think about the team first, put the team's needs first, think about how to best get the team to do the things that it needs to do, right? And I think of that from a captain role and also from a coach's role, the role of a coach who doesn't get to have a direct influence necessarily on what's happening on the day-to-day, but is more orchestrating the activities by leading the people who are in the trenches day-to-day. And that's something I feel has been such a gift, having been an athlete and having been exposed to the dynamic of leadership and team building and teamwork early on. And I think that there's elements of and aspects of that we get to have in different areas of our life and through different experiences. But for some reason, as a business owner, when it's time to step up and be the leader of the team, sometimes it feels like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what it's going to take to be a champion in this role. And so when I was thinking about those experiences as an athlete, I started to ask myself, how do you become a masterful coach? And when I think of the similarities of the top coaches that lead athletic teams at the highest level, I see a lot of similarities to business leaders and owners at high levels as well. And so I started to really think about some of the challenges that are presented when I'm, for example, having coaching calls with women and they're talking to me about their experience with leading people. And sometimes we create a challenge before we even have one because of the insecurities that we have around what we believe we're worthy of in our business. So for example, we might even talk ourselves out of hiring the best candidate that's the best fit for our company because in the back of our mind, subconsciously, we feel like we should have things more together. We should be more put together or more in order. We should have more systems in place. We should have things more dialed in. And especially when it comes to those first few hires, sometimes the best fit is someone that can be a part of the process of building the plane as you're flying it, and knowing that coming in and being a part of something with the understanding that it's not all figured out. And that's hard when we're people who are born high achievers and have high expectations for ourselves. And we've already accomplished so much that we can't even believe we're in the place we're in. And so I wanted to think a little bit more tactically about leadership, and leadership being such a superpower that I have found the fastest growing, the most fulfilled, the owners who have the most joy in their business are the ones who have really dialed in this idea of becoming coaches for their team members. So, as you start out, right, you are the team essentially. And as you start to build people, the whole infrastructure, the dynamic changes in the sense, just like a sports team, where then we're really counting on the people in our team to make autonomous decisions, to embody the core mission, vision, and values of the company, and to really do things in a way that helps perpetuate a self-led company. So I made a list of a few ideas of ways that we could attract top performers and be a better leader and coach for our team members. And one thing I want to mention, and just something to remember when we're thinking about this idea of bringing in great people, a mentor of mine used to always say, game knows game. And what she meant by that is that when you're a high achiever, you want to work for a high achieving business leader and with a high achieving team. Right. And so we can't expect as a leader to attract and bring on top performers, but not be investing in our own skills to learn how to navigate the leadership of top performers, right? The better the people are that you bring in, the stronger they are, the more challenging they're going to be in terms of the complexities of leadership that they need. And so I, for one, have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in coaching, and I work with women who do on a daily basis, and it shows. And I think we can't just wake up and read a book and think we're going to become a better leader. It's a practice that we have to tend to and invest in on a daily basis, just like the practice of anything else, right? I love the analogy of you can read all of the books you want about swimming. You can learn about every breaststroke. You can learn about, every stroke, all the breath work, all of the things, but you're not a swimmer until you jump your butt in that pool and get in the water. And that is the same thing with leadership. Until you go through an experience, you learn from that experience and then move into that experience again as a more well-directioned, thoughtful woman who has learned through that experience and can show up as a different type of leader. You have not really practiced leadership. And I think that if we reference so many of the great habits of great coaches, it will help us really think about how our team is showing up to view us as their leader. Many of us are owners who have built really great, successful businesses, and we employ a team of people who look up to us and want to be like us, right? And so what are we doing? How are we capitalizing on that, number one? And how are we taking care of this great responsibility that we have as our position as a leader in the world? Number one is developing better personal habits. And so I think that the one way I get asked a lot, like, well, how can I get my team to focus more on their own personal development and to want to read more and to want to grow more and to want to take care of themselves? And I think that the number one way to do that is to do it ourselves so that they see that the work that we do, the habits that we follow and embody every single day contribute to our own growth. Think about anybody in life that you look up to. They can tell you to do something, but it's the act of them doing it. And it's the perception of who you see them becoming through that process that really inspires you to want to be more like them. So is it a morning routine? Is it working out? Is it better eating habits? Is it better emotional control habits? Is it stress level management, right? We all have challenges, me being number one. I think everyone on my team will attest to that. But what everyone who knows me will say about me is that I will work through that challenge. And I think to be able to demonstrate that I'm going to work through that. If I face an adversity or there is some turbulence, we're going to make it through. And I'm creating an environment for myself where I'm improving myself on a daily basis to embody that and show that. Number two is constantly learning and growing, both from a strategy standpoint, tactically, like really investing and becoming better. So for me, becoming a better business coach, a better strategic growth advisor, I'm working with other coaches to learn how to become better at my craft. I am reading, I am studying, I'm analyzing, I'm hiring team members who are challenging the status quo and making me think about the way I do things differently. When we stagnate and say, we've got it all figured out, right? For you, maybe it's your clinical acumen or skill or knowledge. They see you learning and growing and teaching and studying. Your team, one, knows that they can count on you, that you're going to be on the cutting edge and the cusp of leading them somewhere great, but also that trickles down to them to teach them that this is an important part of growth and an important part of what it takes to be successful in our company. Number three is really about building a brand. And I don't mean a brand, a showy brand, a flashy brand, the way that the brand looks in marketing. I'm talking about a brand that stands for something that magnetizes great people. Like I said, game knows game. So build a brand where high performing people want to come and work for you, and they're going to attract more of that type. We want to magnetize high performing employees and really great clients. There is a domino effect. When we are focused on being that brand, on knowing what we stand for, on showcasing that every day and making those difficult decisions to protect that brand, that is what's going to magnetize the best people to us, both from a client standpoint and a team standpoint, but all over in our ecosystem. Number four is being a role model. So I touched on this in number one, which was creating really great habits, developing better personal habits, but being an actual role model instead of just talking about it, right? So like think about if you're working with a personal trainer, you don't want to work out with a trainer that's like sitting on their phone or like that's like a fat slob. You want to work out with a trainer that is like, oh, I want to be like you. I see that you're showcasing and doing the things that you're telling me to do. I think this is so true when it comes to our clients as well, as we're trying to demonstrate best practices and habits around the things that we're teaching them and coaching them on, for us to embody that and just be the human, right? Be the person that other people can look up to and model. Number five is to be motivational, right? To motivate somebody, like be somebody that inspires somebody who is motivated to want to get up every day and be like. Number six is to be inspirational, to inspire them, to touch them spiritually, to help them move them at a soul level. Number seven, to be aspirational, to be somebody that other people want to be like. So think about somebody who is aspirational for you. What kinds of things do they do? What kind of character do they have? What are their values and habits? What are the things that you admire about them that make you want to be like them? I think that's a great question to ask yourself so you can be more like that for your team members and for the people that follow you. When I talk about leading and we talk about leading your team, you're also remember leading a community, you're leading your marketplace, you're leading your business, you're leading as an influencer. If you're out on in the market in any kind of way, right? People are going to be influenced by the things that you say and do. So how are you being aspirational and somebody that people want to look up to and be like? Number 8 is being willing to make difficult decisions when there is no right answer. So this is one of the most challenging nuances about being a leader is that, and sometimes we get stuck because a decision has to be made and ultimately it always falls back on us. And so being a great coach and leading your team requires you to make a difficult decision, even if the decision is not feel good for everybody. Maybe the decision is going to lead you down a path where you could potentially fail, or it could be the wrong choice. That could be the wrong way to go. But you are going to make that decision and do it anyway, and then be willing to accept responsibility for the outcomes of that, regardless of how things go. I always like to say, as a leader, you can't celebrate the successes if you're not going to take accountability for the failures as well. It always comes back to us as leaders. We're responsible for the good and the bad in our company. And the sooner that we take accountability for that and realize that truth, the more freedom we'll have in our business and the more aspirational and inspirational we'll be to the people who want to follow us. And then finally, a big one for me is don't follow trends, set trends. I'm just not a person of groupthink. It's kind of been a double-edged sword for me in my life. But I think that what the world needs today are not more people to be saying the same thing at a different scale or on a different stage or in front of a different audience. We need people to show up and imagine the world to be a different place and create that, and to take some time to think and become creative and to be intentional about what our compass is. What's our moral compass? What value system are we following? Like, I think leading a team and asking people to follow you requires you to be somebody who is well-directioned and is not going to waver. If it's a commitment to your faith, if it's a commitment to your ethics, to your core values, what is the guiding principle that you will not veer off of? Having that is going to keep your team focused, committed, loyal, and trusting of you as somebody who will lead them even through tough times. At the end of the day, we want a team that will go to battle with us, and when times are good and times are bad, and they will be bad. Running a business over a long period of time, having a sustainable business, there are going to be ups and downs, and we need a team that's going to be on our side through all of those. So those are sort of my high level thoughts for today. I just wanted to jump in, and something that's been on my mind, and as I've been thinking about this whole idea of coaching, and actually came up, I was talking with a client and she said, I'd never believed in this whole coaching thing and meditation. And now it's everywhere, all this self-help and personal development. And it's kind of like, okay, well, get on board, right? And I think like when I grew up, it was sort of a hush-hush thing. Like you didn't really get therapy, and getting help was a sign of weakness. And I think that you don't have to bare your entire soul to everybody around you. But I do think that there's so much available and so much space for us to grow and develop and become just more introspective and intentional human beings. And when we demonstrate that to our team and we invest in the tools and the resources and the role modeling to help our team see what a clear-minded and a high growth mindset leader looks like, and they invest in their personal development, we have great people, growing people working in our business grows because those high growth people are contributing to a high growth environment. So I think it's this idea of leading our team is the number one business strategy. There absolutely is. And if you are looking to lead great people, you have to be investing in your own skills to manage them and to demonstrate and showcase to them what leadership is really all about. All right, that's all I have for you today. I hope that everyone had an amazing summer and great kickoff to fall. Bye, kids. Back to school.
All right. I will see you same place, same time next week.
Wait, before you go, if you're vibing with this conversation and want to join me on my mission to help 1,000 inspiring and intentional women cross the next $1 million milestone in their business this year, or maybe you want to become one of them, head over to Facebook and join our free community, the Fierce Factor Society. Over there, we are taking this conversation to an elevated level. Get access to resource guides, podcast supplements, and guideposts, direct communication with me and my expert team, and of course, a society of fierce women making big moves and disrupting the status quo in aesthetics and wellness. You can link directly through the show notes or head to Facebook and search up the Fierce Factor Society. See you there, goddess.